Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, episode 77. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and as always, I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
Hello, I'm doing well. It's been a completely nuts week in the gaming world. Lots of news has come out about various things. We are going to obviously talk about Steam coming out with all the new hardware, which I'm very excited about. We're also going to talk about some preview controversy with Metroid Prime 4, and we've got some impressions about from a few different games that have come out all in 2025. So yeah, looking forward to talking about all of that.
And as you can see, we are doing a little mini reboot. I've changed the logo, the layout, the intro, all that stuff. So I think it fits the lounge podcast vibe a bit more, doing a purple-ish vibe with like a club intro. So I think
Yep.
so. I'm very happy to make those changes. So let's get started with our first topic, which is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which has got several previews from various outlets. It's been a very mixed reaction, I would say. VGC and IGN have been very negative, especially with the NPC, while other outlets
Nintendo Life was pretty negative as well, yeah.
while others were like not that bad or like nonchalant about it. So I've
Yeah.
seen a very mixed reaction. So let's start with the exciting new stuff. So Samus, she has psychic powers. She can steer her beam mid-flight, interact with objects telekinetically, and even guide bombs through the air. Those psychic abilities feel like legit. They're not just a gimmick. It's part of the whole game. And you're going to use them in combat, puzzles, and exploration. There's a new suit design that looks modern, and it looks sleek, and it looks really nice, and it's tied to her new powers. And the planet Vuros has a very different vibe to it. It has lush jungle areas, alien technology, and mysterious ruins. The biggest thing I've noticed was the graphics. They were a big step up on the Switch too. There was a 4K 60 FPS and 120 FPS modes, depending on how you play. There was mouse aiming, of course, on the Switch too, and that will give you more precision, and that'll make the psychic powers feel more natural and satisfying. There's a scan and visor system, which is back, and it feels smarter and helps you figure out the weak points in the environmental interactions. Exploration is classic Metroid, but it's enhanced. Of course, it's Metroid Prime, so there's backtracking, there's scanning, and there's revisiting areas, which will hopefully feel more meaningful. The tone is more conversational, which was controversial to people. There's a talkative companion. One of them was a Federation engineer named Miles McKenzie, and so that goes against the grain of typical Metroid games, where it's very silent. There are enemies and bosses and antagonists that talk to Samus, but for the most part, it's a relatively quiet game. So this is a first time to having not just a talkative character, but a comic relief. And then the sound design and level visuals are very strong. There's really nice explosions and beam blast and ambient alien life force. So the main thing I've noticed with this game is it looks very pretty. This looks like the best Metroid game ever in
Absolutely.
terms of the visuals. Obviously, the Switch 2 is the strongest hardware that Nintendo's ever had, because Nintendo doesn't usually care about that kind of stuff. So let's start with the visuals story. How did you feel about the visuals?
Yeah, I thought it looked beautiful. I was very impressed by the art direction of Retro. I think it's worth pointing out, and I'm kind of taking this observation from other folks I've been talking to about this, but even the older games still hold up, Metroid Prime 1 and 2 to some extent, right? 3. All three of them somewhat hold up in terms of the art design and aesthetic of those games. It's similar to like Dead Space, right? Just the way that those studios use the atmosphere and environmental graphics and whatnot to emphasize the isolation or loneliness or the exploration, in Metroid's case especially. So I had no doubt about how well Retro would be able to do this. It looks really, really good. Looks stunning, honestly.
Now, what did you think of the gameplay and all the psychic abilities and things like that?
Yeah, the gameplay looked cool. Psychic abilities is a nice way to kind of mix things up so it's not just the same, completely same Metroid game, and I respect that. Hopefully, it's implemented well. I heard from people, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but who did hands on that the psychic stuff could feel a little clunky and weird at first, like a little slow, like nothing game breaking or anything like that, but just a little awkward to control. But that'll probably be better as you play the game more, right? If you're only playing a demo for like an hour and you're introduced to all these new concepts. So I'm not too worried about that, but that is something that people noticed. Obviously, in general, though, the gameplay looks great. Lots of people are excited about the fact that Samus can finally fucking jump, which is good. Great for you, Samus. So she can jump, she can dash. I think that's actually what the jump is that people are referring to, is basically a lock-on dash that makes her jump up and away from enemies while she's locked onto them and shooting at them and stuff. But I mean, of course, the combat looks brilliant. The shooting, looks and sounds very good. Obviously, I don't know how it feels, but from everything that I've heard, it seems to be very good.
Yeah, one of the criticisms that I saw with IGN was the psychic powers. Apparently, it makes it feel more like a different game than Metroid Prime. Was it Logan Plant? He commented the psychic
Yes.
powers felt slow and finicky through the motion
Yeah.
controls, but he speculated
Yeah.
that it might get better. So I mean, it's only
Right.
like the first hour or so it's hard to say.
Right. Exactly.
And then the new sidekick's dialogue was very chatty, and that can clash with the typical lonely bounty hunter vibe, as I said. He's giving constant advice to Samus. So what did you
Yeah.
think of
You
that
can.
sidekick?
I didn't really like it at all. Look, I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of Metroid aficionado, right? I played three, and I played Hunters on the DS. That's it. That's all I played. I never had an NES as a kid. I never played. I never had a GameCube, so I missed out on the first two games of the trilogy. So like, I am no kind of like Metroid expert. But for me, and I think for a lot of other people, but I'm really just speaking for myself, Metroid is about exploration. It's about isolation. It's about discovering and being by yourself. And I mean, just locking the fuck in and fighting really fun boss fights and doing really cool puzzles. Right? It's not about chatty exposition, and it's not just about chattiness. Right? I mean, some of these lines, I gotta quote them to you. It's about to get real nerdy over here was one of his lines. Uh, let's see. He says missiles are effective against a creature with a hard shell. What else does he say? You're alone on a planet with no hope of survival, but you're also not sitting next to Phil anymore in that cubicle. So win. Like, there's a few other lines that are like this that are just very cringy and very like. I think that people over criticize Marvel and its quippy dialogue, but this is like Marvel at its worst. This is just cringe-inducing humor that I find incredibly annoying and feels very, very forced. We'll talk about another game that has a lot of quippy humor later on in the podcast. I think it does it very well. So I am not against quips. I love quips. Spider-Man's like my favorite superhero, right? So not against quips, but if they're done poorly, I know other people too have said, that games like God of War got away with chatty people. That's Santa Monica Studios. Santa Monica has incredible writers. All love to Retro Studios and the stuff they do with Metroid, but they are not Santa Monica. Most studios are not Santa Monica Studios. And even in that case, where they had chatty dialogue, chatty NPC companions like Atreyu, and
Atreus.
Atreus, thank you. I got the Atreus mixed up with the band. But yeah, even there, it was annoying for some people, especially during puzzles where he just wouldn't shut up. Now, Santa Monica eventually included a setting where you can like kind of reduce how often they give you hints on puzzles, so they listened to fan feedback. But like, again, if even Santa Monica needs to like kind of pin that back, like push that back, pull that back a little bit, I'm not excited about what Retro is cooking here in terms of its writing, because Metroid games, respectfully, have never been known for good writing, right? I know the one time Metroid did try to include more voice acting and writing and a big story was Other M. The less said about that, probably the better, right? So, you know, I don't think the other companions are going to be like Miles. I think likely they are going to be less chatty, more business focused, but I think it's a terrible way to start a Metroid game. It just clashes with a lot of what Metroid is about for me, and I think for a lot of other people. Now, some people, Giant Bomb had a preview of it, didn't think it was a big deal at all, right? He said that it makes Samus feel more badass because Miles is so inept. It shows off the more human side of the Metroid universe because he's talking a lot and saying funny things or saying goofball things. I don't agree with that. I can understand that perspective. I don't agree at all. I actually very much disagree with that. I think Samus is a very badass character. You don't need a Miles McKenzie to like. That's just obvious, right? That's show not tell is the most basic like logic in writing, right? And I feel like with Miles McKenzie, they're like telling you, like, wow, isn't Samus so cool because this guy's a fucking loser? And I'm like, I just don't need that. But I know other people are more mild on it. You know, it's not just VGC, just VGC and IGN, Nintendo Life, right? Other publications have been like, it's fine. You know, it's not a big deal. But to me, I don't like it at all. So that was one of the bigger things that came out of this.
Yeah, the big criticism was definitely the escort missions, because it seemed like this game is very heavily with the escort missions, and like every map that we're going to be on is going to have some sort of companion or escort. Maybe it won't be as bad as it sounds. Like maybe it's just like maybe the escort, maybe the AI is pretty good, and they're not
Yeah.
all like human characters. Maybe one's like a drone, maybe one's like an alien that does certain things, but generally in the history of video games, escort missions have been pretty bad and frustrating and annoying. The AI is usually
Yeah,
not
like
great.
for every Resident Evil 4, there's like 20 Michael Jackson missions in Yakuza that are incredibly that's the one that came to my mind for some reason. But like the one where you have to defend the Michael Jackson lookalike from all the zombies, and I think I failed it 5 times before I gave up. Yeah, I mean Resident Evil 4, right? A lot of people could say one of the best games of all time is an escort mission, but I mean that is a huge anomaly. Most games that have escort missions are very annoying at best, and at worst they're like deal breakers for a lot of people. I mean, I think there's a reason why we even have the term
Yeah,
escort mission, right? Because it was such a popular narrative device in the, I want to say, 2000s, maybe even
yeah.
2010, early
The
2010s.
Right. The worst part of Metal Gear Solid 3's remake was the escort mission that
Yes,
they kept in there.
absolutely it
It
was.
felt like something from
Yeah, I think
2004, which is what
yep.
escort missions are. They're from the 90s and 2000s, and they're
Yeah.
outdated. But maybe they're not like that. I mean, it's hard to say from just one character,
Right.
right? So I don't want to. I know the internet can be very hyperbolic and everybody overreacts to everything. So I'm more on the fence where like I don't generally like that direction, but I want to play it before I critique it. So I'm a little concerned, but I'm not. But I am very confident this game is going to score very well, despite the criticisms. I'm confident this game is going to be a really good game. Metroid Prime always has always scored well. I trust Nintendo making with their first party games. So maybe it's optimism, but I trust this game's gonna be polished. But let's also talk about the bike sections. I didn't really care for the bike sections. I thought it reminded me a lot of Gears 5, which felt very tacked on, just because like, oh, we're doing the same formula again, so let's just add something new to it, and then it just dragged on and didn't really add anything. That was the vibe I was kind of getting with this. This felt like, because I know Metroid Prime is all about exploration, and that fits exploring our open world
Right.
fits that, but at the same time, these kind of sections in video games tend to be very bloated, or a lot of empty land that you have to explore, and just barren wasteland, and just a waste of resources generally. Again, I trust Nintendo on things, but this might be the wrong direction, so we'll see with that. I wasn't totally feeling that. The previews also said that it's unclear if the new abilities are balanced or if they'll dilute the challenge. Early build feels powerful, so like I guess maybe that was just because it was a demo or whoever, or just a playthrough for a
Right.
gameplay snippet for people. So maybe Nintendo just wanted to show off all the powers and stuff. The semi-open areas like Buros might not feel as tightly crafted as more claustrophobic Prime levels. I mean, obviously this is a departure from Metroid Prime's previous games, where like you're in tight hallways and you're backtracking these tight hallways and things like that. This is like a really big open area, so we'll see about that. Some previews suggest friction between modern design, like mouse aim and psychic gameplay, and what longtime players expect from a true Metroid Prime experience. So this game feels more along the lines of like a modern shooter, and in a modern game, and it might piss off the Metroid fans, which are not. It's not like a giant franchise. It's not a massive seller. Metroid has never been a big seller, but it has a very loyal and very strong audience that really loves Metroid. I mean, it's one of the greatest franchises, and of course, it's one of the best Nintendo franchises. So this game has potential of pissing off the fans, of course, but we'll see about that. And then while the visuals are upgraded, there are questions about whether every area will deliver the same wow factor, but it's hard to say, right? I mean, we've only gone off previews of like one area, so how do you feel about what I just said, like the open areas and the gameplay overall?
Yeah, I'm skeptical, and I don't want to make it sound like I hate the game, or I disapprove of everything they're doing. I think the core looks solid. It's just the stuff that they're adding that I'm skeptical of, right? The chatty companions, the escort missions, the bike stuff. Even to some extent the psychic powers, although I think that'll be fine probably. But a lot of what they're adding on top of Metroid Prime 3 and what I loved about it, I'm very skeptical of, just because it's often not what I like in a game. And so the bike stuff, it should be noted, was not included in the demo or preview build for even outlets like IGN, right? And like nobody got hands on with the bike. No one knows how that controls or how that plays or how it's going to feel to play. So nobody knows. And so to me, that's a bit of a yellow flag. It's not a red flag. Maybe they just, didn't want to. But there's usually a reason why developers will highlight certain things but not highlight others. It's also very strange to me that they would highlight the mile section of all sections first, but whatever. So yeah, I'm a little nervous about this semi-open stuff. Do I think it'll like kill the game or be terrible? No, but it just feels, like Seb said, it feels unnecessary. I completely agree with the Gears 5 stuff. I didn't like the semi-open areas. It felt completely tacked on. I wanted the more corridor kind of idea of corridor kind of design of Gears, 1, 2, and 3, and even 4 to some extent, right? Instead of, what we got in 5. It just feels like they're adding open world stuff because they have to, because time has, elapsed, and now we have a lot more semi-open world and open world games, and so we have to put that at Metroid, which is when it's like, no, you don't. Like, I don't really think anyone's clamoring for that. Maybe there are some people who want that. I just don't agree with that. I don't need that in my Metroid games. But again, I mean, it could be fine. It could just be a quick thing that you do to get between worlds, and you do a little bit of combat, and then you're back to first person. And if so, cool. I still don't want it, but fine, I guess.
With all that said, with this game being out in a couple weeks, are you day ones at all?
I am day one if the reviews are as strong as you're suggesting. If they are not, or if there's a lot of people saying the escort missions are really annoying and the bike doesn't handle very well, and maybe even there's some tech issues, I doubt it, but I mean there has been some with Nintendo lately, which is weird. I would be hesitant to drop 60, $70, whatever it is. I also want to know, by the way, this was all Nintendo Switch 2. I don't have a Switch 2, and I'm not buying one anytime soon, maybe not ever. So I'm very curious how it plays in Nintendo Switch 1. If I hear that it's like it runs like crap, and again, this is Nintendo, so I doubt that, and it's Retro Studios who have a pedigree, so I double doubt that. But if for some reason the reviewers said, it doesn't run very well on Nintendo Switch 1, you're going to want a 2 to play this. If it's like you're going to want to play it on a Nintendo Switch 2 to fully experience how beautiful it is, that's fine. I'm okay with cutting my losses. I know that I'm giving up some quality for my wallet, right? That's fine. I'm okay with that. But if they're like, oh well, it runs really slow, and like he was one of the Logan was saying from IGN was saying that he played on like 120 frames per second. Like that's sick. Like, I don't need that, but that's cool that he could do that. I'm very curious because none of the previews were on the Nintendo Switch 1. How does it run on that? And so that's really what I want to know too. So hopefully reviewers are talking about that. I'm still cautiously day one, but a lot more cautious than I was before. This preview kind of hurt my enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'm day one, of course. If I had a Switch only and not a Switch 2, I would not buy this game. I would definitely wait for the Switch 2 version, but because I just feel like this, because the Switch 2 is such a significant upgrade over the Switch 1, that I feel like this, I have a feeling this game is not going to run very great on the Switch 1, but we'll see, right? Nintendo is pretty good with polishing their games. But I'm day one. These previews I felt like were somewhat hyperbolic or overblown. I got from the internet's reaction anyway. I'm not saying the reactors, the people that were previewing, the journalists, were being hyperbolic. But I think the internet's reaction tends to be exaggerated. So we'll see, and then I'll be fair and objective and go from there when we get to there. So it comes out December 4th. And yeah, let's move on to the State of Play, which we got this week. State of Play Japan only. The whole show was in Japanese, and we'll go relatively fast because there wasn't a lot for either of us.
No,
but there was enough for me to talk about. And starting with the Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, which is a full remake of the classic Square Enix RPG. Gameplay trailer showed off battle scenes, multiple characters, and then it revealed a February 5th, 2026 release date. So what did you think of Dragon Quest? Were you interested in that at all?
I was interested in a little bit. I've never played Dragon Quest, so I can't say that I know a ton about the series besides Akira Toriyama's involvement, of course, R.I.P. Yeah. I will say one thing that kind of threw me off is the design of the faces, especially for that blonde-haired guy. I don't know. It like was something out of my nightmares. You know what I'm talking about? The character models and their faces and like how they looked.
Yes, because
like
they
just look.
Yeah, they completely took 2D art and made it 3D, which makes it a little off.
Yeah, it was mostly the guy with the blocky face who kind of looked like a, I don't know, like a male model, and then the guy with the beard too looked very weird. I don't know.
The adults,
but
don't look right.
but yeah, they just don't look. They look off. Yeah. Otherwise, I thought the combat looked nice. The graphics looked nice. The music, of course, sounded great. So I'm interested cautiously.
Yeah, I mean, this game was originally 2D and they made it 3D, and that's why, and it's like very accurate to the artwork of Akira Toriyama, so that's why it looks a little off in the 3D space. But I mean, if you like Secret of Mana and you like Final Fantasy, then you will love this series. Dragon Quest is one of the best turn-based RPGs. I strongly recommend you play them. I strongly recommend you try Dragon Quest 11, which is the most recent one in terms of like.
Yeah, I believe I have that too. So I do want to play that at some point. Yeah, I have the Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition one.
Although that one's more of a action RPG, while this one is back to turn-based. But yeah, this is one of the most exciting games at the State of Play for me. We saw this before, so I already knew about it, but I was definitely interested in it. All right, so I'm happy to hear it's coming out in February. That was really the big news out of it more than anything else. All right, moving on. Did you have anything to say about Incombini One Store Many Stories? Anything about the cozy simulation game?
I didn't have anything to say about it. It was like a store simulator, and I think, there wasn't a lot for me here.
What about Coffee Talk Tokyo? Do you like the Coffee Talk games?
I've thought about playing them, but never have, so I don't have much to say here either, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I don't have much to say about that either. I don't like the coffee talk games really, so it wasn't for me.
Mm.
Now the broken, I was kind of interested in the Broken Lore Unfollow and Ascend, so which are two games in the Broken Lore horror franchise, and they're both coming out in the summer. What'd you think of that game? What did you think of these two
I thought they
games?
both looked great. I thought it was cool that they were giving a shout out to such a small game. I mean, it's really not that big of a game in terms of like how many people have reviewed it or commented about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Graphics look impressive. Obviously, I'm a big psychological horror fan, but
yeah.
I also love some blood and guts too. I thought both games looked really interesting. So, and I have a big fear of heights, so the Ascend one kind of that's just gonna fuck with me the whole time. I remember playing Still Weeks the Deep, and honestly, part of my terror in that game is how far up you are.
Oh really? Yeah. The first person perspective is really cool in this game, and the psychological horror. I'm curious what kind of game it is. Is it like a I'm not familiar with. I've heard of this franchise before, but I'm not familiar with the gameplay. Was
Yeah.
like, is it more stealth based? Is it like just a walking simulator kind of game, where it's like psychological horror walking simulator? I'm not sure, but I thought it looked really cool, and that's something I would definitely keep my eye on. I will play it on PC. Then we had another horror game right after, which was Fatal Frame Crimson Butterfly 2 Remake, which we already knew about again as well. And of course, as I said before, I am very interested and very excited for this. I think Fatal Frame Crimson Butterfly 2 is one of the scariest games ever made. It's one of those games that I remember watching on G4 on like random compilation episodes and X-Play and things like that, and it always looked way too scary for me. And I was a big horror fan even when I was a kid, but even for me, I had a big fear of like The Grudge, and this was like along the lines of that. And obviously I can play it now, but like back then it was way too scary for me. I'm very excited to play it. I haven't played this game in a long time, and I'm really excited to see in a modern graphics, and it's coming out March 12th, so it feels like a good month to play this. Because usually there's usually not a lot of big games in March, I want to say, but you never know. Dory, anything to say about Fatal Frame?
No, I don't.
Okay. Would you play it if I had it on Steam?
I would if it got good reviews and you bought it. Yeah, I would probably try it.
Okay. Yeah, I
But
mean,
I've never been really into the whole. See, I get really fucking stressed during those kind of game mechanics where you've got to be right on the fly and shit's scary.
yeah.
Like I've been playing some like small indie horror games lately, off and on. I get real tense and like I don't like scream like fucking some of the streamers do, right? Where they have those viral reactions. But like I'm really tense on the inside. Sometimes I have to take like breaks. Like horror movies don't get me like that, but playing like horror games because you're actually in it and you're controlling it, that like brings me a lot more fear
Yeah.
than horror
You
movies.
should you should try VR horror games too.
Jesus fuck no, thank you.
I played Resident Evil 7 in VR. That was pretty
Oh
cool.
my god.
All right. One of the big criticisms I had of the state of play was that there was a lot of DLC, and DLC for things I didn't really care for. Like, it's cool to have Dynasty Warriors DLC, but I was like, okay, that's fine, I guess. And then they did DLC for Gran Turismo 7, which I don't play. I own it. I played it like a long time ago and everything, but I was like, oh, okay. But again, it's a Japanese market. Gran Turismo is popular in Japan, so I get it. Then we had this like little action puzzle game. What was it called? It was called Motion Wreck. Did that do anything for you? It didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, a motion wreck.
Yeah,
What was that?
it was like a
I don't
eight,
even.
kind of like a 8-bit game. It was like a puzzle, like a platformer, like a tough platformer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not even coming up on the IGN article, so I don't even know.
No worries,
No, I don't really remember it honestly.
no worries. And then they showed like Wandering Sword, which was like a 2D, 3D mix again, 2.5, and that looked really cool. That looked pretty cool actually. It looked like a strategy RPG. And then they went really fast. Okay, so let's talk about the next big game, which was No Sleep for Konami date from AI this Somnium Files. So this came out on Switch and PC already this year, and this is just coming out to PlayStation next year. Any comments about that one?
No, another one that just didn't do much for me.
No worries. And then Tokyo Extreme Racer, they brought that series back. First time in 20 years, but again, I don't really play racing games, so not really for me. It comes out February 26th. Also the same day as No Sleep. So there was a lot of games that had like a lot of the same release dates. It was a very February, March heavy show. The next game, Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse. Do you have any comments about that Metroidvania style adventure game?
It looks really cute, but as you know, I have a poor sense of directionality, so Metroidvanias are always like a bit of a mixed bag for me. But I thought it looked cute, and I liked the graphics and stuff like that. But I doubt I'll play it.
Yeah, this is one of those games where like I thought the art style looked really cool, but I'm usually not a giant fan of Metroidvanias. I like certain ones. I can only play a couple Metroidvanias a year. I got my fill for it this year with Silk Song, and that was pretty much it. All right, the next game was Blaze Blue Entropy Effect X, which is a well,
It's a roguelike.
I guess it was a roguelite, right?
Apparently, it's a roguelike action spin-off of the Blaze Blue series.
Which is a fighting series.
Yeah, it's another February release.
Yep. Not really for me personally. And then now this game was definitely one of the standout for me, but again I already knew about it, which was Octopath Traveler 0. It comes out next month. And they showed new gameplay for it. They showed off the 2D 2D 3D visuals and the flashy battles, and included several characters and a village building mechanic, player housing and crops and more. And there's a demo, and you can play the first 3 hours of the game starting the day of the state of play, so you can actually play the demo for this game. I'm not sure if the progress carries over, but I would assume
It
so.
does.
I would assume so. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So do you have any interest in Octopath Traveler? Have you ever played the series?
I do. I've never played 1 or 2 and have been tempted to, but always been concerned with the difficulty spikes, and I don't think there are any like ways to increase the accessibility in those games while you're playing, although I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they're known as very tough classic RPG experiences, just with a new coat of paint and some quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
So I am interested. The city building doesn't do anything for me. In fact, it does negative for me. Like,
Yeah.
It makes me less interested in the game, not more. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said I had no interest in it. I think it looks good.
Yeah, the Octopath series is actually really good. I strongly recommend it. If you like, since you like turn-based RPGs now,
Yeah.
it's just that like because you just recently got into this genre, that there's so many games for you to play that it's overwhelming because these games are all very long. It's not like
Yes,
it's not a franchise.
exactly.
It's not a series you can just jump in and I'll play like 10 hours and get done. You know what I mean? These are all
Yeah.
40-hour commitments each. Persona, Final Fantasy, Octopath, Dragon Quest. I mean, there's so many to play. Like, you could literally get by just buying RPGs all year and be totally fine. Like, that's how many RPGs there are. So many franchises. I mean, Square Enix owns like half of them. Feels like.
Yeah.
And the other half is Atlas. I mean, in terms of the big ones, of course. And then two more things I want to talk about. Elden Ring, Night Rain got a DLC, The Forsaken Hollows. I still haven't played this yet. I'm definitely going to play it at some point. It won't be this year, I don't think, but next year. That's going to be one of my catch-up games that I didn't get to play this year. And then finally, I want to talk about Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which is the Arc Systems Works' fighting game using Marvel characters. They got a second closed beta during the first week of... They're getting one the first week of December, and the beta will introduce Ghost Rider and Spider-Man to the playable roster, along with 2 new stages, the X Mansion and Savage Land. The Ghost Rider looked badass, and Spider-Man's plot is always going to be like my main in a Marvel fighting game because Spider-Man's my favorite. And I think this game looks hype. Like I really love this style of fighting games. I love when Dragon Ball Fighters did it. It's just the 2D 3D mix is just badass, and this looks really exciting. I know you don't play any fighting games, so I know you have nothing to really say about it, but
Yeah,
it just looks
I
really
do
cool.
want to mention Digimon Story Time Stranger
Yeah.
had an additional Digimon and episode pack 1 for the alternate dimension. It had kind of a teaser trailer. I'm not sure if I'll play this because I am pretty satisfied after beating the main game.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a DLC I'll do, but I do want to highlight it because I had a lot of fun with the Digimon game.
All right. Well, so that concludes our talk about state of play. I think overall wasn't really for me. It wasn't
Or
for
me.
you. I think the whole point wasn't really to appeal to a Western audience. I
Yep.
think one thing Sony is trying to do is get back into their Japanese market. They've fallen behind Nintendo in Japan because they've become so westernized the last decade or so. It got to the point where like almost everybody in charge of Sony in the big seats were like Western people. They were all European guys and British guys and American guys. So I think they're finally getting back to their Japanese market. Not saying they're giving up on their Western studios because obviously those are the biggest ones they own, right? Like Naughty Dog and
Right.
we literally just got Sucker Punch's
Insomniac.
Ghost of Yotai, and Insomniac is working on Wolverine next year, and Spider-Man 3's around the corner, and of course you have God of War. Santa Monica works on God of War. We're still waiting for the next God of War game because there's that rumor about the Atreus is deal. Like, there was supposed to be like a standalone Atreus game. We never got
Yeah.
that because he went off on his own adventure. So we'll see. But yeah, like all their big studios are Western. So I do prefer Sony. That's like, yeah, we have some studios in the West, but like they're still strongly in Japanese because I think the best. All my favorite franchises generally tend to be Japanese. So I'm you know what I mean, like Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, so on and so forth. Metal Gear Solid. All right, let's move on to our spotlights. Now normally we would talk about the Steam devices as the next news topic, but we're gonna make that the main topic of this episode because that was such a big news. Because like you never really get like a just complete drop from Valve of like a VR headset, a controller, and a new console PC
Yeah.
randomly in the middle of
It
the
was
week.
it was totally wild.
So we'll save that for the end of the episode.
Look outside. So I feel like on the podcast we don't we don't do this enough where we actually introduce the game. I kind of just start talking about it. So Look Outside is a turn-based survival resource management game. There's like 2 out of 3 of those things that don't really appeal to me. So and that does kind of come up later in the cons, but you are in this world where it has been taken over by this alien force. You're not exactly sure what it is. There's kind of Cthulhu-esque vibes going on here. It's not Cthulhu, but it's very Lovecraftian in a way. It basically, if you look outside, you die. And so you can, of course, choose to do that at the beginning of the game, and then you die. I did that because, I mean, come on, you gotta. So I immediately looked outside. But you should not, because you will die. And so your face basically gets torn. So, by the way, lots of graphic violence in this game. It is very bloody. It's very pixelated, so it's not realistic at all. But I mean, that does not stop this game from being disgusting as fuck. It is very, very gory. Lots of body horror. If you like body horror, I have a game for you. So what you're trying to do is you find out through your neighbor, who is a spectrum of eyes, that a lot of the people who looked outside got turned into monsters. And so that's a lot of the monsters you fight in this game are just people who looked outside or were outside when this happened. And so your neighbor tells you that they think in like 15 days the creature will be gone and this will all be over. So there's kind of a day-night cycle, and there's a day system and stuff like that, and you can stay up for as long as you want, but you'll suffer penalties and stuff like that. And you'll get a certain amount of experience for staying out more and more and later. On normal mode, which I did not play on because heck that, You can only save at your home base. You cannot save elsewhere. And if you die, you get sent back to the last time you saved at your home base. No, thank you. Absolutely not. I did easy mode where you can save anywhere. The game felt a lot more accessible that way. And I still died quite often in this game. Another thing about this game's tough. Do not come into this game thinking, even on easy mode, that it's going to not throw hands at you. It's going to throw like 5 or 6 hands at you, mostly because the monster in front of you has 6 different hands. So it's a pretty tough game at times. I don't want to make it sound like it's fucking Dark Souls or something, but it can be very challenging if you're not prepared. So I just wanted to highlight that. All right, so let's talk about some pros. I already mentioned this a little bit, but the pixel horror, well, chef's kiss. Best part of the game, probably. Maybe the soundtrack is, I don't know. It's between those two. But it's done incredibly well. The body horror is very good. I love both those things in my horror. I mean, I love a good psychological horror that like says something about society, don't get me wrong, but I love a good bloody slasher film too. I have two wolves inside of me. Thank you. The writing can be very smart and unique at times. It feels definitely very Earthbound inspired, very Undertale inspired. I don't know. Your mileage may vary on how engaging it is combat wise relative to those two games. I don't actually think it's as good as Undertale, for example, but that's also a very high bar. But it's obviously trying to get at that kind of small town, local, kind of vibe. There's definitely some humor. I have talked a lot about how there's a lot of disgusting stuff, but there's a lot of funny stuff in this game too. The game can be very funny. It's often dark humor, but it is funny, at least to me. I have a very twisted sense of humor. The creature design is horrific. So many monsters. I was like, how the fuck did they think about that? Like, how do you even come up with that? So it's very impressive. The character design is very strong in this game. Some of your allies in this game have also looked outside to some extent or another. So just because they look like a monster doesn't mean they are a monster. So that's important to, keep in mind. The soundtrack is incredible. It's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite part of the games. The techno vibes are immaculate. There were so many songs that I really liked. I would pause the menu just to hear the songs. If you don't do anything with this game, if you're like, ew, like body horror is not for me, totally fine. Go check out the soundtrack. It's very, very good. Next pro I want to talk about is the accessibility options. If this didn't have an easy mode, I don't know that I would have played it. I remember looking up the benefits and cons of playing easy versus normal, and eventually became a no-brainer, right? I was skeptical and I was reticent at first because I wanted to play on normal and I wanted to challenge myself. But then I heard that it's very challenging, even on normal. No, like normal's more like hard and easy's more like normal, and I agree with that. And you could possibly lose hours of progress because you haven't saved at home or you die suddenly. There are some difficulty spikes in this game where an enemy could just come out of nowhere and fucking flatten your party. That happened to me a few times in my 15 hours. Very discouraging. And if I was playing on easy, also auto saves. So that's another thing. So usually when you enter a room, it'll auto save. You don't get that on normal. On normal, it doesn't auto save. And the only way you can save is if you go talk to your neighbor Sybil, and she is next to your home. So good luck with that. Not for me personally. We all know how I feel about losing progress like that. I think I would have just quit. So I'm very glad I played it on easy. That is a pro for me. A lot of the characters are very interesting and fun to interact with, even if most of them want to kill you. I think a lot of the companions are written very well, and a lot of the characters in general are written very well. There are different endings. I got a bad ending because of a bug, and we'll talk about it. And optional bosses aplenty. I think I fought 25 optional bosses. Technically, a lot of these enemies are optional. You can run by them if you want to, but they'll chase you, so you have to be careful. But I fought around like 25 optional bosses. All of them felt very different from each other and very well designed, and so very cool. But anyway, my point is that it all gives you a lot of reasons to replay the game because you also have randomized companions. There are companions. I only got like 2 or 3 companions throughout the whole game because I didn't stay in my apartment and play video games a lot, and that's kind of how you get people coming to the door. Like it's kind of randomized where people will come to the door and be like, "Hey, I want to hang out with you." And more often than not, by the way, letting people into your apartment is actually a good thing. I know it sounds like it would be a bad thing during this apocalypse, but it's actually a good thing. Most of the people who knock at your door are A, sentient enough to knock at your door, but B, usually are able to talk to you and offer you items or even join your party. So I got two party members by the end of the game, and I attempted to recruit two or three others, and then there's a whole bunch more, and it's all randomized, so that offers a lot of replay value. I also find it a little frustrating that they've locked it behind randomization, but whatever. Last thing I want to say is something I already said. Companions have a lot of personality and are fun to talk to. So that's pretty much all my pros. Any questions or comments you have, Seb?
No, I know this game is like rewards you for being kind to strangers. Like that's one of the themes of this game, and you get, like, one of the best endings is from that, from doing that. So that's nice that this game can be kind of wholesome in a way, from my understanding. Even though the companions are like monsters, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, you answered all my questions about pretty well. So
Cool. All right, my cons. My cons are going to sound really harsh. I felt very frustrated with this game at times, and honestly, I almost gave up a few times because the game is very fucking confusing. That is my biggest problem with it. And I know that part of it's on me, that I lack directionality, but even other people have said online that this game can be really confusing in what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. It's just very unnecessarily obscurantist. I had to look up multiple times, like, okay, what am I even doing in this game? Like, what's the point? Like, yeah, obviously everything's going to be, like, the creature is going to leave in 15 days, but, like, what the hell am I supposed to do before that? Like, what am I doing during this? So I looked up how to get the true ending, and I'm just going to talk about this now. And I did my darn best to get it, and a bug fucking fucked me over, and I couldn't do it. Because basically, and I'm going to try to say this vaguely so I don't spoil anything, but you have to give these offerings to the creature outside. And obviously that's problematic because you're not supposed to look outside. So there's a whole plot about how to do that, right? And you are supposed to give very particular, specific offerings. And if you don't, you will get a bad ending. I looked at a guide multiple times, multiple, points in the game to make sure that I did this right. Unfortunately, I had already messed up and I didn't know because the game, again, doesn't really tell you anything throughout most of it. It's very hands off, which is fine to a certain extent. But when it costs you your entire 15-hour playthrough, that kind of sucks. And to undo what I had done, which is that I had given an NPC an empty bag instead of a bag with a painting in it, it makes sense in the context of the game. I took the bag back once I realized my mistake, tried to put the right painting in it, and the game said that I didn't have a canvas bag anymore. I didn't have a painting bag, even though I did. It was right in my inventory. I checked. And other people have commented, if you look on the Look Outside discussion board, I'm not the only one to complain. I'm on there. I said, like, hey, this happened to me. And other people have too, so it's not just me. So I did everything. I tried a save editor, which I didn't even know was a thing. I tried to look at mods. I looked for help online. Nothing. So I just ended up getting a bad ending. And honestly, that really sucked. I worked really hard to get the true ending. Is it a huge deal? I mean, I guess not, but like it feels shitty, right? Because like that's not my fault. That's the devs' fault. I know they're an indie team, right? So I'm not gonna hold it against them like they're a AAA whatever. But it's still your game, right? It's still a bug, and it stopped me from getting the true ending. All because your game is telling me I don't have something that I objectively have right in front of me, right? I'm looking at the inventory, I'm seeing the bag, and then I try to collect the painting, and it's like, you do not have this item, right? So, bullshit. I was incredibly frustrated. So that was one of my biggest drawbacks as well. Another drawback I didn't find the combat that interesting. Honestly, I didn't think like it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but so it's not. But it just didn't do much for me. I guess like there's basic combat with melee, and then you can also use guns, and then all of your companions have special abilities. So it sounds like there should be plenty of variety, but I just never really found it that engaging. I found like Muffle's life sentence way more engaging, for example, because like the turn based is like also card based combat, and so there's like lots of different ways to mix up your deck, and I like that. Whereas with this, it's like after 15 hours, I was kind of getting bored of like the same attacks or the same weapons. There's also, I want to talk about weapon durability. I fucking hate weapon durability. I'll always hate weapon durability. Nobody can say, you guys can fucking talk about how awesome Breath of the Wild is till you're dead in the ground. I will never support weapon durability. I think it's annoying as shit. If you want it in your game, that's fine. But like, make it a toggle. Don't force it on players. That's all I ask. It's also like they're trying to like introduce realistic mechanics, but those things never break in that amount of time in real life, right? Like it's never realistic. Anyway, it's just annoying. So there's survival mechanics that I just don't like. I didn't really think that the 15-day time limit added anything. I didn't really think that the food management or video games, or I never really like playing video games inside of video games. I don't know why. I think that's become a pet peeve for me where I just like, I'm here to play your game, not the game that you made up in the game, right? So I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I found the survival mechanics mixed with the time limit and resource management not really my thing. I had to use a guide multiple times to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. There are random difficulty spikes I did not like, even on easy, which caused me to die. And I just don't like how normal mode works. I don't even know like how that would be fun to possibly lose hours upon hours unless you're constantly going back to your home base and saving. But to me, that sounds nightmarish too. That sounds really repetitive and not fun. So I don't know who the hell normal mode is for, but it ain't for me. Overall, I would give it a 4 out of 5, an 8 out of 10. It's an indie gem. But I did not find it as nearly impressive. It's got overwhelmingly positive on Steam. I honestly think it's a little overrated, but a lot of it also isn't for me, right? It's got some aspects of like obscurantism that I just don't like in video games. Like another reason why I don't like the Dark Souls series, this is totally tangential, is just that the games don't fucking explain anything to you. And I hate that, right? Like I don't mind a little bit of mystery, but Dark Souls is all about the mystery and all about the lore through the items and about you fucking around and finding out. I don't like fucking around and finding out. I've done that enough in my life. I don't need to do that in virtual life too, right? So, the turn-based combat felt basic, and my 15 hours went down the drain due to a bug. And sometimes I nearly quit due to how frustratingly confusing the game could be. But with all that said, the horror vibe's immaculate. The writing is really good. And I do recommend playing it overall for sure, especially if you like horror and you like turn-based games. This is a great game. Just if you want the good ending, bring a guide immediately. Like immediately have a guide. If you like me, don't really like those randomized elements, like it's a miracle that I love Hades as much as I do. Bring a guide. You're gonna need one because I missed almost all the companions. One of the companions I did get died because of a fucking bullshit event that happened on a day, and I couldn't go back far enough to fucking prevent it. Anyway, so there are some things about this game I don't like. I think it's overrated personally, but I did like it. I thought it was a great game. I'm glad I played it. It's not going to be on my top 10 by any means, but I did think it was a great game. Any questions or comments about my cons?
No, I generally don't like randomness either with the endings because I want to get the best ending too, and I don't. If I'm confused and I get a bad ending, I'm gonna be disappointed as well. Especially
Yeah.
if something happens like what happened to you, that would irritate me as well and sour the game.
Yeah.
And I would probably have a worse review score than you actually than you ended up giving it ultimately, right? Because like I would have been frustrated with it, but yeah, it makes sense. Definitely a game I've kept my eye on. I just got to find the time to play it for sure.
Yeah, I do think it's worth your time. I think you might enjoy it more than I did, but I would just beware of bugs. They did a recent patch, and I think that is possibly what led to the bug happening, but I'm not sure. You can't avoid the bug by just doing the right thing the first time,
Yeah.
But again, getting the true ending is very specific, very particular. You need to give, and the game even gives you fake outs. It's very easy to mess up, and not get the true ending.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways they're trying to get you to replay the game, which I'm a little mixed on. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
But the game is very cavalier about fucking you over and not apologizing for it, which, your mileage may vary on how much you appreciate that. I don't particularly like it, but, because I'm not in it for the quality, I'm in it for the quantity right now because I would like to play more games, not less. So,
All right. You ready to move on?
yeah, sounds good.
All right. So my game that I played this week was Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment, which is the next Zelda game. It's a Musou game, so it's a Dynasty Warriors kind of game, right? Bunch of enemies on the screen. You hit a bunch of buttons and you smack a bunch of enemies around. That's pretty much the whole concept of the game, right? There's a mission structure and you go to different missions and things like that, but relatively it's the same gameplay loop over and over again. You have to like these kind of games, right? It is a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom. It talks about how Zelda, when Zelda went back in time, and that whole storyline with the original king of Hyrule and things like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a Musou game, so you know what you're getting into with this. So the pros: combat is very satisfying. I think the combo is very snappy. They're fun to pull off. There's a lot of different characters to use and different moves and different weapons styles and things like that. I think I really like how you can easily switch between characters, so that it's nice to mix it up. The performance on the Switch 2 is strong, actually, because I know one of the issues with Age of Calamity was the frame rate was horrendous, and that really soured the game. But fortunately, this game, is pretty smooth, right? It's a nice 60 frames per second during all the big battles. So you have a lot of enemies on screen, and it runs very well, which is awesome. The roster is diverse, and you unlock it steadily. Like I said, switching the characters mid-battle feels natural and fun. The sync strikes and the special attacks add some weight, and you can mix it up in really cool tactics, and you can do a lot of really cool combos, and the gameplay loop feels fun if you like the style of game, because the way you can switch between characters and all that stuff. So that's really good. There are exciting mission types like flight mode, dogfights, which mix up the usual hack and slash kind of gameplay. The story gives Zelda a bigger role and ties into Tears of the Kingdom, like I said. She is the protagonist. It's not about Link. So if you like Zelda and you're a big Zelda fan, the character, not the game series, the specific character, she gets to be the star of the show. And there's co-op, so including split screen and game sharing. So if you find this kind of game repetitive, you might have it more fun with a friend. So I would recommend that if you're into these kind of games. Do you have any questions about the pros, Dory? I mean, I'm going pretty fast, but that's pretty much the gist of the game.
No, I understand the game. I don't have any questions about the pros. I'm glad you enjoyed the combat. Obviously, that's the most important part of this, right? So,
yeah. The cons.
Sorry, one last thing. I love that there's co-op. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. So the cons are what you expect with this kind of game is very subjective. You either like Musou game or you don't. It's very repetitive. You pick a mission, you fight a bunch of enemies, you clear out the map, one fort at a time. You usually fight a boss at the end, and then that's the same game over and over again. Side missions and levels variety are limited. I think the battlefield sections feel bland and very samey. The story is pretty lightweight, unfortunately. There's some major lore moments, but they just kind of under-deliver on it. Some of the characters feel underdeveloped, but ultimately, we don't play these games for the story, really. It's all about the gameplay, and the gameplay is fun. So gameplay is king. So don't go into this expecting some monumental, huge story for Zelda. It's kind of forgettable, in my opinion. But the gameplay is so good that it doesn't matter. Enemy AI can be frustratingly dumb or aggressive, so sometimes the battles can feel less strategic and a bit more grindy. Even with better graphics, some areas, specifically like the Sky Islands or the Depths, feel a bit underutilized, and they feel pretty bland. They don't really stand out. It feels like you're doing the same area many times. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the gameplay loop is not going to appeal to everybody. You have to know what you're getting into, which is if you like Dynasty Warriors and you like Zelda, it's a great combo. But if you don't like that, it's that simple. You're not going to like this game because the repetitive battles can wear down, and especially if you're playing solo, you're just going to be grinding to unlock more characters or gear, and that's all you're really doing is fighting a bunch of enemies on screen all the time. I feel like it's a nice game to play like when you have some downtime, you just want to smack some people around for like an hour or whatever. This is a perfect game for that. I believe it's like 20 something hours if you just mainline it, and like 30 to 50 hours if you like do everything. I won't obviously do everything. I will probably just streamline it. I played like 10 hours, and I recommend it if you like these kind of games. I know I keep saying that, but like this is like one of those games you really have to stress that you have to like these kind of games to enjoy it. It's one of those very specific genres. Turn your brain off, just smack a bunch of enemies around with fun, flashy combos and moves, and you'll have a good time. And if you like Zelda, it's a bonus. I think people are gonna generally enjoy this game. I think I got like a 79 on Metacritic or something like in the late 70s, and that's about where I'm at. I think it's about an 8 out of 10. I guess it's kind of like a Starfield 8, but I would say it's an 8. It's probably on the weaker end of an 8 for me. I think it's not on my top 10, and I've said this a lot this year. I have a lot of 8 out of 10s this year, and there's a giant group of games all in this one little big pile, and I have to determine what's going to be my top 10 by the end of the year. And I don't think this is even going to be my honorable mention. But I know I'm sounding like I'm being negative. I just think there's better games this year in that range. So this is not going to make my honorable mention, but it's still a good game, and I would recommend it if you like Dynasty Warriors, and if you like Zelda. So yeah. So overall, I've been pretty happy with my Switch 2 this year. I've only played the exclusives. I only have it for the exclusives. And between Mario Kart and Donkey Kong and this game and Pokemon ZA and then Metroid right around the corner and then Kirby Air Riders right around the corner, I've been pretty happy with the Switch 2's first year. Obviously, the big blemish and the black eye on Switch 2 has been the $80 game of Mario Kart and the expensive $450 price tag and the tariffs and all that stuff's been a big conversation. They had to increase their prices, all their hardware. But in terms of the games, I think it's been a good year. I mean, it's not like Tears of the King. It's not a Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey level of a launch year. But I think it's been a good launch. I mean, Nintendo's always had one thing you can always trust Nintendo with is they're gonna have awesome exclusive games, and the best combo to have right now is PC and Switch too. Like that's the best combo because you'll play literally every game. The only thing I missed on this year was Ghost of Yotai and Death of Stranding 2, and that's only because I'm waiting for the PC version. I could have easily played it too, but if those games come to PC next year, then I literally can play every game between those two devices. So, all right, let's move on to our final spotlight of the night, which is Dispatch, which I played to episode 6, and you beat the game. So I'll let
Correct.
Dory carry this topic, and then I'll add on after. So go ahead.
Sure. So Dispatch, it is the newest game from Ad Hoc Studios. Ad Hoc is a collection of ex-Ubisoft and ex-Telltale people, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other people also involved. You follow a former superhero that was Mecha Man, and he has basically his suit's been destroyed, and without a suit, he's just a normal guy. And so now he is dispatching superheroes out of this corporation that you work for throughout the game. And so the main gameplay throughout it is this strategy-based gameplay where you are trying to send reformed villains that have done, various bad things of varying badness. I don't know.
Levels. Yeah.
And and now they are working for this corporation to kind of redeem themselves and to help people with their powers. And so you'll try to match athletics or speed or intellect or charm or various stats that you want to match as best as possible. And you can send one or multiple superheroes to a given place, and they all have snarky stuff that they say. And so that's the main gist of the game.
Yeah.
So let me get into the pros.
Yeah, it's like,
unless you want to add anything.
Yeah, it's like The Boys, but the corporation's actually a good. It's not like the corporation's not like a nasty corporation that's trying to like rule the world or anything like that. This corporation is actually looking out for people.
Yeah, I would say that was the most unrealistic part of the game. Thank you for bringing that up, Seb.
Yeah, but like
now I'm fine with superheroes flying, but corporations looking out for people. I got to draw the line somewhere. God damn it.
Yeah, so I definitely feel the Telltale influence for sure. Like this feels like a modern this feels like a Telltale game. Like this is what I've been missing. I need these kind of games to balance out with like action games and all these big games. I like to have a nice narrative, smaller game. And this game is very well voice acted and animated, and it feels like a legitimate like show you could see on Amazon Prime or a streaming service. But we'll get into that with the pros. So go ahead, Dory.
Yes. So that's my first pro. The animation is gorgeous. This could easily be a TV show, and I wouldn't complain. It is incredible what Ad Hoc has done for just their first game in terms of optimizing the animation. Yeah. Everything was so fluid. I never had a single frame drop ever. I played on Steam Deck too. Never had a frame drop. Never had a problem. It ran beautifully. I know it's not super graphics intensive, but it looks beautiful. It runs beautiful. All of the scenes just flowed super well.
Yeah.
Loved it. Just so good. Like Seb said, the voice acting is top notch, and they partnered with Critical Role. So they have Laura Bailey. I thought she was voicing two different characters, but it turns out she's just voicing one of them. I thought she was both of the romantic partners, but actually the one who's blonde haired, I don't remember her name, is somebody completely different who just sounds a lot like Laura Bailey. And I don't remember her name either, but there's some folks from Critical Role here. And if you don't know, Critical Role is a D&D live actual play where they, obviously play D&D. There's a campaign going on right now.
Yeah,
but some of the people came in.
Yeah, Erin Yvette plays Blonde Blazer, which is one of the love interests you can pick.
Yes, and she did a great job. I thought that was Laura Bailey, which made me have a very funny conclusion about halfway through the game, which I thought was right. But I was like, wow, your romantic options are Laura Bailey or Laura Bailey. But it turns out that's not true.
Yeah, she plays a Visigal or a Visibitch, depending on when she's a hero.
Yes, Laura Bailey does.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, and then Aaron Paul is the main character. He plays Robert Robertson, which is a funny name. And then they always roast him about it. And he's actually surprisingly a very good, not surprisingly, he's a very good voice actor. Like, I actually really enjoy his performance. He feels like a genuine character and a genuine person. I think the main character is very likable and very understandable, and his motives are understandable. He just wants to look out for people, and he wasted all his money that he inherited to help people, and he's basically at rock bottom until he is rescued by Blonde Blazer, and he joined the corporation and become a dispatcher, which is like what it sounds like. He has no powers, and his mech is destroyed, and he really can help everybody by being a dispatcher and leading the group and guiding his team of villains. It's kind of like it's like The Boys mixed with Suicide Squad, because the Suicide Squad meaning like the
mixed with The Office.
Mixed with The Office, like because you're literally like in an office, all the comedy of the Office, where like because the little moments in this game are hilarious. Like I genuinely laughed at all the quips, like the funniest roast. Like he called one of the ladies like Cardi C, and
yes, that was so funny. It was so fucking funny. And then they did the Nicki Mirage.
Yeah,
Nicki Mirage. That was so fucking. I was like, this game is so good. I love this game.
And
I also want to shout out the voice. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my favorite character though in this game is Sonar, which is voiced by
He's
Charlie.
great.
I love Charlie's one of my favorite streamers, and he is fantastic in this game. His
He's
voice
very funny.
fits the tone of his character so well.
So good. I love the description of his character, a Harvard graduate who will never shut up about the fact that he's a Harvard graduate, just like most Harvard graduates.
And then
I grew up in the
yeah.
Northeast, so I can confirm.
And then Alana Pierce plays Malavola,
Yes.
which is feels like a tribute to the lady from Baldur's Gate 3. It just feels it's so similar.
Yes, it feels a lot like Karlach. Yes.
Karlach, yeah.
It was funny. Alana had a clip of her saying that she saw like the deluxe edition cover or something, which has Malevola in like a very skimpy bathing suit, and she's like, "Am I allowed to be attracted to my own character that I voice?"
And then and this game
yeah.
this game also had Ashley Johnson, like, in a couple of roles, and then they had Jeffrey Wright, which is a big actor,
Yes.
and they had what else? Matthew Mercer. He's the voice of
Matt Mercer is the
Shroud.
main villain.
Yeah.
They also had Travis Willingham, who's also from Critical Role. I guess at first it was kind of controversial, but they had, obviously they have Moist Critical, but they also had Jack Septiceye as Punch Up. I thought he did a great job. And then they had some other kind of other YouTubers and online personalities do voice acting where they were kind of untested, unknown, but they all did a great job. I mean, the voice acting is really good. Everybody brought their A game.
Absolutely. That's one of the best parts of this game, for sure.
Yes. All right. So the other best part about this game is actually the strategy part. Now, I do not consider myself a big lover of strategy. I don't mind it here and there in my games, and of course, I love turn-based combat now. So I don't mind it from now and then. I thought it was incredibly engaging. All of your heroes have stat blocks that they can upgrade as they go to more and more jobs. They are all befitting of various different jobs. Maybe you want to send Flambe, the guy who does fire, to a fight, and maybe you want to send little Nicki Mirage to like a speaking engagement because she's very charming. And she used to be a streamer or something like that. Or maybe you want to send Sonar to debate somebody because he's very educated, right? He went to Harvard. So it doesn't feel like an afterthought. In a lot of these kind of games where you have gameplay mixed in with the story, it always feels like an afterthought. That's always my biggest criticism and I love story motivated games. Of course, I love narrative games. I play a lot of them, but it's always my biggest criticism. The gameplay feels like an afterthought. The gameplay feels like an afterthought. It does not here. It feels very intentional. It feels well crafted, and it's fun. It's just fun. I enjoy it. It's stressful, but it's not so stressful except towards the end. And I'll talk about that. And I know Seb's not there yet, so I won't. I'll get there. I'll be very vague, but there's some difficulty spikes in the last chapter that I was like, this is a bit much. But in general, the gameplay is very, very good. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, the gameplay of these kind of games tend to be not great, and they're just very limited, and they're just very narrative focused, which usually doesn't bother me. But yeah, they're not objectively great. This game, even though this game is very narrative focused, obviously it is a strategy game at its core. That's the whole gameplay loop of this game. The cutscenes are just meant as in between the actual gameplay, which is the strategy game. This is a strategy game first and foremost, with cutscenes and dialogue choices mixed in between. So I'll just make that clear. This is a strategy game first and foremost, in my opinion, because most of the game time goes towards the map and the RPG elements and building your stats, and it's really good. It's really well done. It's addicting. There's hacking mini games and stuff like that too, which we'll talk about. I'm mixed on the hacking games, but overall it's pretty good.
I also have my criticisms of the hacking stuff, but we'll talk about that. For more pros, I usually felt like my choices mattered. We'll talk about the usually, but generally speaking, I felt like what I did impacted my gameplay, impacted the characters around me, and led to direct and observable character growth or lack of character growth for certain individuals.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. I felt like my choices most of the time were well respected.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the choices in this game really matter. So, I mean, I
Yes.
haven't got to the end yet, but from what I gather, I've seen people say it ties it all together. So I don't know, but
Yeah.
for what I played so far, things really mattered and just consequences, making some major decisions.
Yep. You having the comparisons at the end of the episodes. I know that's a Telltale staple, and Ad Hoc just did it here, but I love it. I always think it's great. On some things, I was very much on the majority side, but on other things, I was very much on my own world with a small pocket of players. So thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
Uh, the story is interesting and well written. I don't really have a ton to say here because I don't want to get into spoilers, but I mean, like, the main story that's happening throughout the game is great, and
yeah.
it's really well
He's like,
told,
yeah,
and it's well written.
he's
It's not
yeah. Go ahead.
innovative, but it's great. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's like Iron Man basically.
Yeah.
It's like Iron Man if he was running the team of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So it's not super original,
Uh,
but it still does its own thing. And I want
yeah.
this should be a show. Like I would love to watch this in live action.
Yep. Character development's really strong across the board, but especially with a few characters. I think the most I'll say about this is when you start, it definitely seems like the story is about Mecha Man. I would say it's not about Mecha Man. Or it is, but I think it's more about another character, and I think Seb knows who I'm talking about. But it's more their show than his, although obviously he drives a lot of the movement forward. There's some downtime moments with the characters where you all just get to hang out and talk shit and have fun. And man, I love those moments. They're so good. Just wanted to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
And then last thing, Beef. Beef. Beef the dog. Love Beef the dog. I think I took a screenshot of Jeffrey Wright's character saying I would kill everybody in this room, including you,
Yeah.
and just to save Beef. And I completely agree with him. I love Beef so much.
Yes. Absolutely. And I love
Those are all my pros.
I love the relationship with what was the black guy's name?
Chase?
Was it Chase?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like he
Trackstar?
Yeah, Trackstar. He was really funny. Even though he was swearing a lot, his swearing was funny. Like when he swore, I know sometimes the swearing can be a little overdone just to be funny, but when he swore, it was really funny. Like he's like one of my favorite characters. Every time he was on screen, he cracked me up. All right, I guess we can get into the cons now. So for the both of us, the hacking mini games are very mixed. Sometimes, for the most part, it didn't bother me, but there were some of them where I really didn't like it, and it was just tedious.
That red ball was really fucking annoying. It was so fast, and it would turn on a dime. So there's like basically what you're doing sometimes because he's Mecha Man. He knows a lot of tech stuff. So sometimes you'll have to hack into systems to help the heroes and stuff like that. And usually it's optional, but sometimes I did it because I didn't have the right skills. So hacking gives you kind of more control over being able to do it right.
Yeah.
But there would be like this red ball that would chase you really quickly, and if you got hit, you like had to start everything over. And you got like 3 chances, and there is an accessibility option to give you unlimited chances, which I did not put on because I wanted the normal experience, and I knew even if I fail the hacking, it's not going to destroy the game or whatever, right? And it doesn't, but it's annoying. Some of the later hacking stuff, especially, it just gets too complicated, and I'm just like, this is not what I'm here for. I don't really care about this.
Yeah, I agree. And this game is raunchy. Like it's very dirty, very adult. For the most part, it's fine. But there are times where, like, these kind of raunchy shows or games or movies tend to go like too far with it, where they try to be like over the top, goofy, and sometimes it gets away from the actual story. Cause it's one of the problems with The Boys, right? Like, The Boys is a very raunchy show, and it's great. But there's times where like they go so extreme and so over the top that like starts getting a distraction. They're just looking for the shock value to be like the main selling point of the show and not about the actual story. Now this game doesn't go that direction, but there's times where like the swearing it goes too much, where it's like they're trying too hard to be funny. Most of the jokes land very well, and it's the show. This is a genuinely funny game, but there are times where this is not how normal people talk as well. Like it feels like a very witty staff of writers is trying to make everybody as witty as possible. You agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I I think that it reminded me, or now that I'm thinking about it, it reminded me of the show called Drawn Together, which was an adult animated sitcom that was on Comedy Central from like in the mid 2000s. A show that really tried to be very raunchy and funny and stuff like that and push boundaries. And like, I'm not directly comparing the two. I think Dispatch is probably a lot funnier than that show was. But yeah, it's like you said, it's that raunchy kind of humor, and I don't mind. I'm not a prude. I don't fucking mind if people fucking swear in fucking video games, right? I don't care. But sometimes in the game, I did roll my eyes a little bit. I remembered watching the game ranks before you buy on this, and Jake was like, "Sometimes the swearing's a little much," and I scoffed, and I'm like, "Bro, come on! Like, what is this? It's 2025. Everybody fucking swears." But then I played the game, and I'm like, yeah, he's got a point. There's a little bit too much swearing in this game. Like you said, nobody talks like nobody swears this much. Like I don't swear this much. Like, and I obviously Seb and I both work with kids, so maybe we're not like the best examples. But like, I still nobody swears this much. This is a bit much.
Yeah.
But it's not a big deal. It's just a minor nitpick. Every now and then I'd be like, okay, come on, no one talks like this.
Yeah, it's like it's like one of those cartoons on Netflix where like they just try too hard sometimes to be like edgy and over the top, raunchy, and it just gets in that level sometimes. Not a lot, but at times. No, you see my view on the episodic viewpoint. The style of game is different than other people, I suppose, because I played this all at once, all on the same day, right? And I generally don't care for episodic games because I'd rather have it all at once. But at the same time, I kind of, like, if I had played this when it came out, like, each week, I probably wouldn't have minded it, personally, because, like, it's something to look forward to every week. But, Dory, you have that as a con. So why do you have that as a con?
And I just think they're out. I just think they're outdated at this point. I waited till like mid-November to play this game, which is a bummer because I would have liked to have just played it when it all came out. But and it's not a big con. It's not a major deal. But they just feel outdated. I just feel like you can put out the whole game.
Yeah, it's definitely dated. But you know what's funny is like it used to be a major criticism because there was a lot of games like this in the past. And people were like, when we get enough is enough with these episodic games. It's so outdated. And now people kind of like miss that in a way. Like one of these games comes out like once in a while where like there's something to look forward to every week. I seem like people were actually happy with that for this game, which is kind of funny. I think people were tired of it when it was like everywhere with like a lot of series. Now that it's like very rare, I think people are more open to an episodic game here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's a big deal. It's just my preference. I would rather have not. Yeah. I mean, I guess it was nice, but you could have just released it all in mid-November, and I would have been happy personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the romance in this game doesn't add a lot. It feels kind of undercooked. I feel like there's more they could have done with both romance leads. It's very clear who they want you to romance versus who you can romance. At least to me, I picked Invisigirl because, like, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't.
I picked the other one because
I
don't really care for Invisigirl that much. I think she's kind of annoying.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I think you're kind of an. Okay.
I don't like that edgy. I'm a rebel type all the time. Like always.
I know, but it's like it's a facade. Like she's not really like that.
I know it's a facade, but sometimes it's like time to take off the facade. Like it's just too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
well, I think that's the point of the story. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't feel like it didn't feel super necessary. And honestly, if you think about it, this whole game's like an HR nightmare because like your boss is hitting on you the whole game, and then also you're trying to hit on one of your coworkers the whole time. And I mean, like I don't know, I met Kim through fucking Walgreens, so what can I say? But I don't know. It's just a little weird. It's kind of similar if like you think about some of the Mass Effect romances, especially in like 1, and like some of those are kind of weird.
I guess.
Last thing I want to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I guess because technically my girlfriend is in the classroom right next to me at school. So
Yeah.
I was also trying to get HR.
Oh,
HR.
I didn't know that's who it was. I think you told me about her before.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Go
but
ahead.
anyway, so some of the results, that's a conversation for after the podcast. Some of the results I got at the end of episode 8 just didn't feel fair to me. Like, it didn't feel representative of what I did. Like, I got a bad ending for Invisigirl, for example. I won't go into details, but I got a, a suboptimal ending for a few characters, and I just didn't feel like it was representative of the choices I personally made. Now, I mean, maybe that's the weighting system, the way it weighted my choices and stuff. Maybe the one choice I did make against Invisigirl really counted against her, which I can see. But I was a bit bummed out by that. And then, just kidding, the last thing I want to say, and I can't believe I'm saying this, you want to talk about takes that would get you absolutely roasted in like the mid 2000s, early 2010s. I kind of wish there were more QTEs. I kind of do, because there could have been more scenes that were interactive, or at least there could have been more scenes that had action. I feel like all of the action in this game and the cutscenes is either at the beginning or the end, and there's not really a lot in the middle, and that kind of stinks. It's not not a big deal. I think it's a really great game.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal. But I kind of would have liked it if there was at least a couple and I know you can't be Mecha Man, but like from someone else's perspective or something, or just Robert fighting. I don't care.
I'm not in episode 8 yet, but like this game is very different than episode 1. Episode 1 was very QTE, like action, and he was doing all these like like action moments where he's like sneaking in a base and fighting and all that, and then the rest of the game really doesn't have it. The QTEs almost feel like tacked on in a way. Now, like
they don't feel very consistent at all.
And there's even a setting to turn it off. Like you can literally just play the game and watch it. Like you don't even have to do any QTs. Which
I don't know how that affects the game. I'm very
I
curious.
actually used that because I after like the first episode I was kind of like I kind of just like watching it, and then I did that and it doesn't change anything. It's like it doesn't affect anything at all.
Yeah.
Because the action the action is very scripted, so it really doesn't matter. So like so you still get the choice system no matter what. So it really the QTDs almost feel like an afterthought really in this game. Like it really doesn't add anything. Mm-hmm. It's just a little extra gameplay, so you're not just sitting there watching
I feel like they are trying to do this kind of compromise where they want to respect the history of Telltale games having QTs, but also recognizing that a lot of people are fucking sick of QTs and they're not nearly as popular as they used to be. So
but like if you just didn't have QTs and I just had to sit there and watch the cutscenes, I'm totally fine with that, and that's why I left the QTs off. I was like, I'm very much enjoying this as a show, I think
that's totally fair.
What a strategy game mixed in, because at the end of the day, I think this game is a strategy game first and foremost, with cutscenes that are well acted in between. That's what this game really is. It's like you have a map, and you have RPG elements, and you're running a party, and you're training them, and you're making them do missions, and that's the whole game. The cutscenes and the narrative in between that is you just bonding with your team, and then that plays into them being a better team doing their mission. So I think the QTs are just an afterthought for me. I just think they're kind of pointless in a way, and it seems like they're gonna be like that the rest of the game. Cause I'm episode 6 and it's out of 8. It's like what, 8 episodes, 9 episodes.
Yeah.
So like I'm almost done. So 8. And there's barely been QTs. So I just left it off.
Yeah, it's. I would hold on to your butts because the last 2 episodes, especially episode 8, that's like I said, beginning and QT in the middle, not really.
But
there are 8 episodes. Yeah. I just want everyone to know too, because some people were very disappointed when they played 1 and 2. This is another reason I'm glad I waited to the full release. When they played episode 1, it's less than an hour, and then episode 2 is like just an hour or something. These are very short. This game, you can beat this game in under 10 hours easily. On my first playthrough, I beat it in 9 hours. I think you could beat it in probably 7 hours if you kind of sped through it.
Yeah.
So
I'm on episode 6.
It's a short game. Don't expect a super long game.
Yeah, I'm on episode 6. I just started episode 6, and that took me 6 hours. Yeah. So I'd imagine it's going to take me about maybe 8 or 9 hours overall. Depends, right? But less than 10 hours, which is perfect for this kind of game. I don't think this game should be like 30 hours. That would be just ridiculous. That would just be ridiculous.
Last another exciting thing because of how I think they sold like a few million copies in 10 days or some. I can't remember. It was a really impressive statistic. Go look it up. But they sold really well in the first couple weeks, and so they're already talking about making a season 2, which I
Yeah,
really hope they do. I don't know how they do it, but I mean, Telltale used to do that all the time based on your decisions. Mass Effect's done it.
yeah.
I never understand because there's very different endings you can get. So I don't really know how they would do
Well,
that, but maybe they just they either make a canon ending or they
yeah.
incorporate all of your choices, the major choices in, or they just do a time skip, right? You can always
Well,
do the fucking cheeky time skip.
Telltale. One of the criticisms of Telltale games was that the illusion of choice, because usually
Right.
everything just leads up to the same point, no matter what you picked, and the choices were not like major sometimes, and it just you kind of just be in the same spot anyway. That's pretty much how they do it. I I, I don't know how this game ends, but are the endings like drastically different, or is it just
It felt like to me that at least a couple of things could have been very different, but I don't know
yeah,
if that's obviously I made the choices I made and I'm not going back. So
yeah? It just comes down to really good writing, and you just have to
yeah.
make two different versions of the same story.
Yeah.
But usually they fail at that when they do that kind of thing. So anyway, how I would rate this game, to me, it's a 9 out of 10. I think it's one of the best games of the year. It's almost highly rated games of the year, and I agree with it. And it's one of my top 10 games of the year. It will be my top 10 games of the year for sure. I think it's locked in. I know I talked about how there's a giant group of 8 out of 10s. This game surpasses all those games, and it should be in like somewhere in the middle of my top 10. I would say like 5 or 6. But I have to do the list, so I can't say for sure. But it's not in that. It's not in that like Expedition 33. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Split Fiction and that kind of like that level, Donkey Kong level. But it's definitely in the next tier under that for me. So I think this game's fantastic. It's a must play if you like these kind of games. And this is such my genre. This is one of my favorite genres. So for me, it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. It's like more like an 8.5 for me, maybe a 9. I don't know. I would go. I think I'd give it an 8 before I gave it a 9, but I do. I'm really torn.
Sounds like
I
eight
don't
point
know what I
five.
would do.
Sounds like 8.5.
Yeah, but 8.5 out of 10 for me, 4.25 out of 5. A really great game. Very impressed. Hopefully there's a season 2. I'm very excited.
I'm pretty confident there probably will be. It
Yeah.
seems like a hit, and there's big actors involved. Like usually when big actors are involved, then you have Critical Role, which is big too. There's more likely to like a push and talent involved and all that stuff. So I'm pretty confident we'll get season 2. So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, I think that's everything. So let's talk about our final topic of the night, which is all new Steam hardware that randomly was dropped in the middle of the week. I just come home from work. Dory sends me a message, and it's like, "Here's the Steam. Here's all these Steam devices. What do you think about it?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'm like,
Yeah.
because I'm like,
I had a
I
funny
was working.
story too
Go
because
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to work very soon before this dropped. And I think I don't remember. It was either I was either scrolling through YouTube and I saw like IGN's like we look at the new Steam hardware and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Or somebody in one of the discords that we're in was like, hey, you guys probably already know, but da da da. And I want to get this out of the way. I'm very excited about all this. I think I'm more excited about it than Seb is because I think I'm more target audience for this than he is. But I want to put my cards on the table. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about 2 out of 3 of these things. I'm mostly excited about the machine. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited. We'll talk about the price and what we think is going to happen. I have my own predictions. Seb probably has his. But yeah, there's so much to talk to, so much to dive into. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so let's start with the Steam Machine, which Valve is relaunching after it failed 10 years ago. But the difference is this Steam Machine is actually made by them and not by another company that they paid to do so. I believe the last one was like Alienware. I remember that. It was a massive failure for them. But yeah, the Steam Machine, which is is a compact console-like PC hybrid, and it runs Steam OS, and it's aimed for like living room gaming. So we'll talk about the specs, but it's a PC, but it's built like a small cube. People are calling it the Gabe Cube because Gabe Newell, so Gabe Cube, and
Yep.
it's a console basically, and it goes on your TV, and it runs Steam. It runs like a Steam Deck. It's a Steam OS, right? Steam OS has come such a long way. They didn't have that back then, 10 years ago when the Steam machine failed. Steam OS is fantastic. It runs like a dream. That's why Steam Deck is the most popular PC handheld, and it should run perfectly with Linux on your TV. And that's the really exciting part about it is it's going to appeal to a very casual audience. It's going to appeal to most gamers. Most people don't have a high-end PC. I have a 4080, and that's probably higher than most people's PCs. I mean, even mine are not like the highest end. I don't have the 50 series, so this appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to most gamers. It really just comes down to the price, which we'll talk about. But the price can really make or break this. The specs, which we'll talk about, the specs are definitely on the lower end of what you expect of like a PC, like a 4K PC machine. So the marketing kind of contradicts the specs. I'm very curious how it's gonna run because they were like advertising like Black Myth Wukong on this hardware, and this hardware is like weaker than a PS5, not by a lot, but like a little bit. And I'm just curious how all that's gonna run. It's gonna be like FSR and all that, and we'll get onto all that. The other thing they talked about, they've revealed, was the Steam Frame, which is a standalone VR style headset that runs Steam OS, and you can stream games from your PC. And then they showed the Steam controller, which is also their second version of the Steam controller, and this one's more modern. It has magnetic thumbsticks, which you have to have today nowadays. Like it's unacceptable that Sony and Microsoft, because it's shitty plastic thumbsticks. Magnetic's where it's at now because you don't get stick drift anymore. And then you have the nice grips, you have the haptic feedback, and you have the wireless, and then you have those tracking pads, which is the big difference. It's a very ugly looking controller in my opinion, but I heard it feels really nice in your hands, and it might be really good to have for your Steam machine, your Steam Deck, your PC, any device you want to use. All right. It says the games from Steam plus non-Steam titles are supported thanks to Proton and compatibility layers. So as you know with Steam Deck, right? You can make that the ultimate emulating machine, the emulator machine. You can play Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 and GameCube and all that, PS2 and all that. Steam Machine is just a cubed Steam Deck, and if you're into that kind of stuff, perfect, right? Like it'd be the ultimate gaming machine. It's gonna you can play like thousands and thousands and thousands of games. Many games are like on a PS5 level or less, so you could play like the strong majority of your Steam library on this device, right? Like every game we talked about today, besides Zelda, because it's on Nintendo only, would run very well on the Steam machine, like perfectly, right? If
Although if you download Windows, not legally, but you could.
And you could do that as well. It's a PC, so you can do whatever you want with it.
PC.
But I don't. To me, I think the purpose of this is to be a streamlined, basic.
Yes, I don't see a lot. To be clear, I don't see a lot of people doing that.
I don't see the reason even to do that. Linux is so simple. SteamOS is so simple. Why would you
Yeah, I agree.
Complicate it? But anyway, because you have a PC to do that, a laptop. There's so many other options to do that with. Anyway, this whole lineup is targeting early 2026. I have a feeling it's going to be like January or February. Like, it's going to be quite early. I don't think it's going to be, like, March or April. It feels like right in January. A lot of tech comes out, like, late January. Like, the NVIDIA, like, their new video cards came out, like, late January, I want to say. So, I feel like it's going to be something around that time, late January. For networking, the Steam machine includes Wi-Fi 6E and Ethernet and plenty of I/O options. Valve says the Steam machine is going to be 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, positioning it as a true living PC. So, Dory, how do you feel about the Steam machine first? Let's start with that one first.
I'm very excited. For me, this seems big because I use Steam for almost all of my games. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of being able to do it on my like obviously I could connect my gaming laptop to my TV and I don't need to have my PC, right? I could just get rid of it or whatever, right? I wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying like with this, like I could just play all my Steam games on my TV. If I wanted to, I could do an HDMI cord. I've done it before, connect it up to my PC and my gaming laptop and play. I think I played another Crab's Treasure or something for a good
Yeah.
5 minutes. But like, you know, I don't like doing that, right? I don't it just doesn't feel natural to me
Mm-hmm.
to connect. And it also like it takes a lot of finagling to like get the HDMI and the USB and like take it out of one first world problems, I know. But like to me it's like I'd rather have my PC and my TV separate. But with this like I can play all my Steam games on my TV. I am not a graphics aficionado. I don't care about 4K. I don't care about FSR. I don't care about AMD,
Mm.
ABC, Soup and Me. I don't give a shit about all these acronyms, right? I'm not a high fidelity kind of person, right? As
Mm-hmm.
long as the Steam machine can do, and some people said it should be called the Steam engine, and I like that idea. But anyway, the Steam machine is fun to say. So if the Steam machine can play 1080p on my TV,
Which it will.
which it will. I'm pretty happy, generally speaking. 30 to 60 frames, ideally 60, but whatever.
Mm.
1080p. That's all I really need. I don't need ray tracing. I don't need 4K. I don't really care about FSR. If I have to do it, sure. Um, I think the AMD stuff is really interesting. We should mention too, it wasn't just the Steam machine that they revealed, right? Which I mean, Seb did mention the controller, but they also talked about a new VR thing. I won't have a lot to say about that. That'll be
Yeah,
more
I
of
mentioned
Seb's
it.
thing.
Yeah, I mentioned it, but
Okay.
we'll talk about that. Yeah, the Steam Machine, just to be clear, it uses AMD Zen 4, and it uses AMD RDNA 3 for the GPU. So the CPU is Zen 4, and the GPU is AMD RDNA 3, and the RAM, which is disappointing to me, is 8 gigabytes, and that was the big conversation, right? The
Right.
storage, yeah, but the storage is 512 gigabytes for the base model, and there's going to be a 2 terabyte version. That's going to be more expensive, and then there's also a micro SD slot, and I know the other big criticism or the negative reaction that I saw of it was that it uses HDMI 2.0 and not 2.1, so the people were upset about that. But the reason I'm not super upset because my expectations for this is realistic. This just comes off to me as a casual, basic, little easy device you put on your TV for a mass audience that doesn't care about the best of the best frame rate and graphics, like Dory, for example. And that stuff's not a big deal for this kind of thing, depending on the price. Now, if this thing is like over 500, if this thing's $600 or more, uh, it's possibly DOA, dead on arrival. If this thing's $700, $800, I don't see this selling. The specs just don't match that. The specs, I think I saw this on YouTube. I forget what YouTuber it was. He's a very popular one. He did like the cost of all the devices, all the parts put together. It was like
Yeah.
$425 in total.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's Moore's Law is dead or something like that. I was just watching that video.
Yeah. So to
Yeah.
me, that tells me that this device is probably going to be like 500 ish.
Yes. I also think that I was going to say similar. If you also want to, I also think a nice article about this is PC Gamer talking about how much is the Steam machine. On average, their team basically said $525. Now that's just an average. That's not like everybody said like $525. It's just like putting
Yeah.
all this stuff together.
Yeah.
I think people who think that this machine is going to be anywhere above 800. I heard some people saying 1,000 or 1,100. I'm like, there's no way. Now
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
there was rumored, I think leaked a bundle of a Steam machine, a controller, and a frame for like 1,100. That I could see. But this by
Yeah.
itself is not going to be anywhere close to 1,000.
Yeah, yeah. If they had a bundle for like $1,200 for all three things, then I'd probably pull the trigger. It depends though, right? I'm still debating about the Steam frame, which we'll talk about. But yeah, like to me, the specs line up with a PC or a laptop, more a laptop, uh, in this price range of $500 something dollars. I don't see how this could be possibly $800 for these specs. Like, I would
No,
not buy this for $800 with these
I
specs.
wouldn't either.
It just because if the rumored Xbox is gonna run Steam and be like a PC hybrid, coming in a couple years, that's probably gonna be like $700-800. I would guess. I'd rather buy that with higher specs than spend $800 on a weaker hardware that's gonna be outdated very fast. Because we're heading for the new generation in a couple years, I would assume. So this has to be priced correctly. If this is
Yeah.
priced correctly, this is gonna sell very well. I don't know how well. I'm not saying it's gonna sell like Nintendo Switch level. I don't know if it's gonna hit PS5 levels. I don't know Sony levels. 'Cause Sony owns the hardware. Sony's just dominant in the console market, in the hardcore space, and then Nintendo's dominant in the handheld space. And so Valve, but Valve doesn't even need to like put a dent in Sony or compete with Sony. Like that's not the point of this console. I don't think. I think it's a good. I just think it's a cool like mini PC for people. But if it ends up like selling like gangbusters, then maybe Valve is a new player in the console space. So this is really revolutionary for the industry. Like because you might have a new player in the industry. I mean, Steam basically has a monopoly on the PC market. So if they get in the console market and you can play all your Steam games on a console, um, they can really take off. And
Yeah.
because I assume this is just the beginning. And if this thing's really successful, they'll make a stronger, more expensive piece of hardware, and that would be really cool. For me, I'm more on the fence. I mean, I probably will get it depending on the price. Because I want a device under my TV that I could just plug and play. I am in a different space than Dory though, because I do care about graphics and performance way more, and also I'm a tech enthusiast and I do like spending way more money on things. Dory needs 2 weeks to plan a $300 Steam Deck and drag her
Yep.
feet and
Yep.
contemplate life, and I just spend $1,200 on fucking PC handheld or a laptop or PC or whatever. I do like the customization of it. I like the outside of it, like the panels, which can have a market of its own. It's gonna be just balling on Etsy. There's gonna be so many custom plates for this thing.
Yeah.
I want the companion cube personally.
Same.
It won't match my setup at all, but I don't care. It just looks cool. I just like how small it is, and it'll fit my TV stand perfectly. So it's this cute little box. It's almost the size. It's like barely bigger than my Apple TV box. So that's very interesting. So yeah, the concept of it is really cool. It really just comes down to price. That's all it really comes down to. If it's reasonably priced, I'm probably gonna get it. If it's
Yeah.
way overpriced,
If it's
it's dead for me. I'm not interested.
if it's 500 or less, I'm interested. If it's over 500, if it's somewhere between like if it was between 600 and 800, I'd probably never get it.
Yeah,
Or at 600 I'd consider it on a discount in a couple of years. But 500 or less, yeah, I'm probably there.
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
this is like for me, like I said, it would be really cool to have my Steam library on my TV and be able to play my PC on, somewhat similar specs. But even easier. The idea too with this PC console hybrid is that you have to do less fiddling with settings, which I always find very annoying about PC gaming. And I don't have to do that a lot, but when I do have to do it, it's annoying, right? Although sometimes it's just because I forget to plug in my PC or I forget to turn up my fan or something because I'm not used to PC gaming.
yeah,
Still. But yeah, I mean, personally, I see this as being $500 for the 512 gig and $600 for the 2 terabyte one, and that's
yeah,
what I think will happen. Again, I recommend the Steam Machine article on PC Gamer with them talking about with a lot of different experts on their team saying how much they think it will be, and the average coming out to about 525. So I think that's pretty reasonable. If it's anywhere, if it's above 600, I'm just not very interested, honestly. I like what the Steam machine is doing, and I like what it would do for me, because it gives me an alternative to my PC while still, I can play with my TV and I don't have to use my PS5. And like we talked about earlier, there are emulation stuff that you could do too if you wanted to. I'm not sure that I would, but you could. And obviously, I mean, it's a PC, right? Basically, like you have the ability to play whatever you want. So it's pretty exciting. I just think it's a cool prospect in general. I think it looks really cool. The being able to mix up the plates is really awesome. The Steam controller sounds like it controls really well, or feels really good. So to me, it's just a winning combination. I think it's something I'm very interested in.
Yeah. Now the Steam frame, which is the headset, it appeals to me to the least amount, only because I already have one of these right here, which is the MetaQuest 3, and they're very similar in specs, right? And do I really need do I really need another expensive headset? And then also, like, how much is this going to cost? Is it reasonably priced? Because one of the things about the MetaQuest is it's actually reasonably priced, because Valve Index was like $1,000 and the MetaQuest was like 500 something. Is this new Steam frame going to be like $800? I need to see the price. I won't get into all the specs of this, because Dory just can't really go off me because she doesn't do VR. So I won't get into all that. But the main thing for me is, do I need to get this when I have a MetaQuest? Like, because I can play Steam games in my MetaQuest, and they're streaming and it runs perfectly. So I have no reason to get that. But I'm gonna keep my eye on it, because I would like to have a if it runs Steam games better, or like it just plays better, or Steam OS really runs on it very well, or something like that, then maybe I consider it. But right now, I don't see the point, but we'll see. And then finally, what also appealed to me, but I kind of on the fence about, is the Steam controller. And again, I have an Xbox Elite controller. I have 8BitDo PC controllers. I have PlayStation controllers, Switch 2 controller. Like, I have so many controllers. What about this will get me to buy it? Again, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to, like, my mindset, like, when I'm thinking about buying it, is like, what makes this one stand out? And I think what makes this stand out for me is the fact that it's just so compatible with Steam, because, like, the tracking pads and everything. Like, I can use it with my Steam Deck and when I have it docked, or Steam on my PC or laptop, or any of my handhelds or whatever, or the Steam machine. The trackpad should work perfectly, right? Like, and this should be easy to set up, and that's what appeals to me to buy it. The price, again, really matters. If this is over $100, it's dead for me. I have no interest in this for over $100. I'm actually curious. I actually have not thought about the price of this that much. Because I've been so focused on the Steam machine and the Steam frames price, that I haven't thought much about the controller's price. Have you seen any speculation about how much that's going to cost?
About the controller?
Yeah.
I've seen people say somewhere around the $60-$75 mark.
That's what I think.
Yeah, competitive with the console controllers. I think that they're probably going to do some kind of package deal with the Steam controller and the Steam machine, which is probably what I'm going to get for like $550.
Yeah, I'd buy a bundle.
I don't need the 2 terabyte. This is a tangent. I don't really understand people who love, and I maybe this is me as a single player person who usually plays games once and then almost never goes back to them unless they're like beloved. I don't understand downloading like 20 games on your Steam game or whatever, right? And then just using up all that data and having like a huge menu of games to play through. I will have like a few, like right now on Steam. I have The Quarry downloaded, and I had a couple other games downloaded before I beat them. And then on my Steam Deck right now, I have like, like I'm not going to go into it, but like 3 or 4 different games downloaded, but they're all relatively modest. Like they're not going to take up that many gigs. So to me, the 2 terabyte thing doesn't do anything for me. But I mean, obviously, if you love having a lot of games immediately accessible to play, and especially if you like play multiplayer games or you
Yeah.
play a lot of games at once, I totally get that. But for me, it just another thing that just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I used to have the same mindset as you, but then there were so many online games or like single player games that were long that I wanted to jump around a lot that I realized I had no space for anything because everything was getting so big. That I don't go crazy with it. I don't have like 12 gigabytes, actually 12 terabytes of space or nothing like that. I think that's insane. Um, but I like having options. I have a Steam Deck, and it's 1 terabyte, and then I have the SSD, which is 1 terabyte. So it's nice to have like 2 terabytes of space, and then I have a portable SSD, which is another terabyte or 2 terabytes. So I have 4 terabytes of space, which is I think is plenty, and that was not expensive. Again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm bragging. Like this is expensive to an extent, but it was not like I didn't spend $1,000 on that. Um, I like having the just a shitload of indie games downloaded all at once. Just to have it all there, so I don't have to keep just downloading everything every time I want to download. Like it's always like playable. I don't have to like sit there and wait. But yeah, it's you can really get away with it. Honestly, it's really it's more important if you like for me for sometimes when I feel like playing Diablo and I feel like playing Call of Duty, or I feel like playing all these big online games, Marvel Rivals and this and that. Like when I feel like playing it, you know what I mean? And then you have like 10, you have like 5 of them on your console, and it takes up like all your space. It makes sense then. But if you're like Dory and you only play like, let's say 3 games at once, not even, and there's no reason to buy storage. So yeah, the 2 terabyte one really doesn't matter. I don't think. I know I'm saying a lot. The short story, keep it short. You don't need storage unless you play a lot of online games. But
so there's
like,
a few other things I want to talk about with the Steam Machine, which I felt like we left out.
Sure.
About 70-80% of this box is just a fan. So ideally, it's pretty quiet while it's playing even some demanding games.
Yeah.
It's got its own dedicated Bluetooth antenna, which is pretty cool. It's got like this puck system. I don't know if this is a common parlance, but they call it a puck. And basically, it magnetically attaches to your controller, your Steam controller, and it automatically connects to the Steam machine. And then you can just like instantly switch it to other Steam stuff in the ecosystem. So like Steam Deck, or the probably the or back to your laptop or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
if I bought the Steam Machine, I would absolutely buy the controller. Like
yeah,
it just feels like a package deal. I don't see why you wouldn't. It should be perfectly synced. They're
also
cool.
they're also expanding the Steam Deck Verified program, and they're saying it's Steam Machine Verified. So they have, you can understand how the games will run. So if they'll run well, or they will run just okay, or they'll run great. It also says that they'll be able to do streaming. So the Steam Machine can be a host PC for streaming to other devices like your Steam Deck or Frame or any other device running Steam.
Yeah.
So that's all pretty cool too.
Not only that, but like if it has Ethernet, so you plug in your Ethernet and you use GeForce Now and you stream 5080 level quality games, and they should run pretty natively because GeForce Now is really good. Actually, that's the main thing. Because if you use Moonlight, you might as well just play on your PC. But like that's really cool too. There's some concerns with like Windows only games. You won't be able to really play those that well. And then you have like the non-Steam games, like how they're gonna run, and how's anti-cheat gonna work, and that kind of stuff. But we'll see.
Yeah, and the Valve has been very honest that it's not going to work very well, at least as of right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they didn't say it like that. They tried to play it off a little bit, but they were very clear that the anti-cheat stuff is very hard for their framework to work with. One more thing I want to say about the Steam Machine, I swear I'll stop fawning over this eventually, but I do think it's really cool, is that it has a LED strip, and it can keep tabs on download progress even when the screen is off, and you can customize it with different colors and animations. Yeah, I think that's really cool too. I think there's also been some speculation, or Valve directly saying even that at some point they're going to let people kind of remix the Steam machine however they want, and also that they are going to ask developers to, and I might be misquoting that, but I that's what I remember them saying. Um, I could be misparaphrasing though, but and then also like eventually they're gonna have people benchmark through the Steam machine so that things are optimized for the Steam machine. I would love that because honestly, I have 16 gigs, and sometimes these Unreal Engine games aren't well optimized. Even though I have 16 gigs of RAM, I just checked the other day. I have 16 gigs of RAM, of VRAM. And still sometimes some of these newer Unreal Engine games, it's because of the Unreal Engine, is just not very well optimized. So I would love if we could target 8 more often. I know that's maybe not realistic for the games industry, but I would love it.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, you have to be realistic with this device. If you go into expecting it to be a awesome emulating machine, an awesome like double A indie machine, or older AAA games, or at least AAA games that are lower setting with FSR on, with artificial frame rate and all that, then this is an amazing console. Depending on the price, of course, but let's say it's reasonably priced, right? This is an awesome console if you're realistic. If you go into this expecting a high end beast of a PC, over $1,000 level quality of like graphics and frame rate and all that, then you're gonna be disappointed. It's not that. It's for a casual audience, or like me, a complement to what you already have, like an accessory that you want to have under your TV, like a basic plug and play, turn it on, works right off the bat, SteamOS perfect, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So it's for that audience. If you're like a hardcore, I have to have the best of the best, just buy a PC and spend the $2,000+ This is not that. So if you go into this realistically, everything about it looks awesome. It's just the price. It's all we're waiting on, the price.
Yep.
It's all it comes down
and
to.
I think like other people have said, the YouTube channel had told me to follow. I think they're called Deck Ready or something like that.
Yeah.
They said, and the other channel that we talked about earlier, Moore's Law is Dead or something, both said it's probably because in all sorts of political reasons, but basically in summary, the tariff situation is affecting a lot of tech stuff, and there's currently a court case to possibly overthrow it. So maybe Steam is kind of waiting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
And so that'll affect prices too. But yeah, like I said, if it's between 500 and 600, which I think it will be, I think it'll be 499.99, and the 2 terabyte will be 599.99. I am very interested.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm there day one,
Yeah.
but I am saying it would be top of my Christmas list, or
Sure.
for 2026, or like,
yeah.
or my birthday list, or whatever.
If it's $600 for the 2 terabyte one, I would just pay the $100 extra just to get the 2 terabytes, because that's like a big, significant space. So, because it would cost more than that just to buy the SSD or another store. You know what I mean? It would cost more money to buy a card or whatever. So I'd rather just pay the $100 extra. I hope that'd be great if it's like 500 or 450. Ideally for me, like the ideal, most realistic price for me is 450. Like that'd be the ideal, realistic one. Obviously, it won't be 300 or less. Like that. That's not gonna happen.
No way. I think the Steam Deck is what, 250? How much is the Steam Deck?
Well, it was 220. It was 231 on sale, right? And
yeah, something like that.
So regular price. Well, it depends what size you get too, right?
Sure, that's true. And if you get the standard OLED.
Yeah. So let's see. The Steam Deck is $400.
Okay.
Those basic one. That's like 256 gigabytes. 512 one is 550, and the 1 terabyte OLED is 650.
Yeah, I mean,
plus shipping
I think,
and tax. So keep that in mind.
Right. I mean, I think we see somewhere between 500 and 600. I'm putting my foot down on, like I said, 499.99 for the 512 and 599 for the terabyte. Like I said, I don't care about storage, so
Yeah.
I care more about money and spending money. So I would just rather do that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. It's tricky because if the Steam Deck original is 512 gigabytes for 550, is the Steam machine gonna be the same price as 550? And there's so many questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
because you're getting a device that's 6 times the power, but it's not a handheld. So that's why is that why the handheld would be more expensive, be the same price as a console, that kind of thing. But I feel like if you go anything beyond that, it's dead on arrival for the casual market, right? Because once you get in the $600 plus range, you're no longer in the casual market. You're in the tech enthusiast market. Like if you're spending over $1,000 on a device, you're a game, like you're a hardcore gamer. Like I'm not saying casual as a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, if you're spending over $1,000 on your computer, you clearly care about having higher performance and graphics. Therefore, you're more of a hardcore person. I think that's a fair assessment. Because regular people, casual people usually just buy a console and then they play Fortnite and Call of Duty and Madden and they're happy, right? And then you have like me. I'm very hardcore, but like even Dory, like you're in the middle. Like you spent like $1,000 on a laptop to have a pretty good performance. Like you don't care a lot, but you do care not to have like the bare minimum horrendous, the bare minimum like $400 computer. You couldn't play that.
Yeah, I think I bought a laptop that would have normally been close to 1,000 for like 800 or something last year.
Right.
I can't remember exactly how much it was, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that I care about, that interests me, but it's not, it's not something that I think I'm as invested as I'm ever going to be in PC gaming. Like I think this is my limit. Like I want something that's solid and can play indies and AA games and old AAA and some modern AAA too.
Yeah.
As well. I don't need to be able to play all of them, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not always trying to play the latest and greatest. I'm a big indies fan, so it's not a huge deal to me.
Yeah,
we probably talked this to death by now.
Yeah, I'm in the hardcore space, but I'm not in the let's spend $3,500 on a PC space either.
Yeah, no fucking thank you.
I'm probably in the tier below that. Like my PC was $2,300, and it's paid off and all that now, but. I think I'm gonna upgrade to the 60 series when it comes out. I'm gonna skip the 50 series generation, but the price tag of these video cards have gotten so absurd, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I think we talked about everything. I know we're kind of skipping the Steam frame, but like Dory doesn't play VR, and I don't have much to talk about. Obviously, it's not like it'd be a good discussion if Dory doesn't play VR. And
I think last thing I'll say is that I speculate that the prices will probably come out sometime in December, probably in time for the holidays, and pre-orders will probably open up around then too. I see this as like selling out immediately, or them probably selling out really quick, and depending on the price, of course, right? But if it is reasonably priced between 500 and 600, that thing's going real quick.
Yeah, make sure you definitely pre-order that.
Yeah,
but I imagine they're easy to manufacture, and I imagine Valve's probably going to make a lot. They know it's going to be popular. I don't think this is going to be like a Nintendo situation where they make a limited amount on purpose. But I would definitely pre-order this if you like at this moment right now. If you're even somewhat interested in this, I would start having some money on the side ready to go, because when those pre-orders open up, it's going to be the floodgates and the website's probably going to crash and that kind of thing. So I would have your money ready to go. Don't be like, oh, I'll wait a week. I wouldn't do that. This thing might be sold out for a while. So I would start making your decision now and start doing your research now and have it ready to go. I think the Steam frame's going to be easy to get, so I don't think you have to pre-order that. But the Steam machine is going to be the hotness and
the hotness.
Yeah, but the controller might be like that too a little bit. So just be ready is what I'm saying. All right. So that concludes our episode. I know this is on the long side, but we had a lot of talk.
We haven't had a long episode like this in a long time. So
yeah. Now next week is one of those weird weeks because I'm not super invested in anything next week. So maybe I'll start spotlighting some older games that I haven't talked about yet, or we'll see. I know Call of Duty comes out next week.
The Game Awards announce what their votes were or choices or whatever?
Are they doing that? Did they do that already, or is that next week?
I think the Indie Game Awards nominees have been officially announced.
Okay.
So we could talk about that. That's actually where I found the game And Roger, where they had mentioned that before.
Right, the indie ones have
Yeah,
been
they got
announced.
the
Yeah.
Indie Game Award nominees so far. They don't have the main ones, but they have the indie ones.
Well, I did. Oh, hold on. Yeah, they did. Ask a post on Twitter about like what do you think are gonna be the top 6 games nominated this year? And I think that could be a topic or
Mhm.
predictions for the top 6 that are gonna be nominated.
Sure.
So we'll see. But yeah, I know Call of Duty is next week, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend $70 on that.
Yeah,
And
they're using some AI bullshit too, so I'm
yeah,
more negative about that than usual. It says r/games has the Game Awards 2025 nominees will be revealed on Monday, November 17th. So that's just a couple days away.
right. Yeah. So our next couple episodes are not really gonna be new game focused. It's gonna be more of like discussion based, I suppose, and the Game Awards, and then our top 10 game list. Because there's only a few episodes left. So
Yeah.
all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. You all have a good night. Take care, Dory,
Bye, everybody.
and peace. Take care.